Hello everyone, this is Peja. Welcome to my channel. And today I'm going to talk about the process of coming to Korea from Malaysia. Okay, first I'm going to talk about why do I have to come to Korea. So I'm doing my master in KAIST. So then I went back to Malaysia for Chinese New Year celebration on 22nd of January 2020. And then Corona happened and I stayed in Malaysia. So everyone who is coming to Korea has to have a PCR test 72 hours before the flight. So first I went for a PCR test 72 hours before my flight. And then you have to prepare your documents. Like if your visa is invalid, you need to go and do a new visa. But for my case, I went back on 22nd of January 2020. I came back to Korea on 17th of January. So I didn't have to redo my visa. And then thirdly, I went to get a police letter because Malaysia is currently on lockdown. So if we need to travel interstate, we'll need a police letter. So I went to do that so that my mom can send me to the airport. So after I park my car in KLIA, we'll have to first check in with your MySejahtera. I think you check in with your MySejahtera and then you go to the check-in counter. When you arrive at the check-in counter, they will ask you for your travel documents like passport, your alien card, and the PCR test. They will first check the PCR test to make sure that you have tested and it's negative. It's very important. Then they will allow you to check in. So usually Malaysian we can use the AutoGate, but during this period the AutoGate is closed and you will need to go to the officer for them to check your passport. So they will also check when you entered Malaysia, which is when you left Korea. I think from June onwards, from last year's June onwards, if you leave Korea and you want to come back, you will have to apply for a re-entry visa. But I left Korea before June, so I don't have to do that. So they will ask you when you leave Korea and why are you going back to Korea. And then they will check through the documents and let you go. In the flight, everyone was wearing masks and the flight was very empty. Like my front row and back rows were all empty. I ate, like some people say not to eat, but I was really hungry, and knowing that I won't be able to eat until I reach my Airbnb, so I ate a little bit. On a plane, you will have to fill in some forms. There were like 4 forms for you to fill in if you're a foreigner. It's good to fill in first in the flight because then you will save a lot of time later. So as you arrive in Korea Airport, the first station is they will check your PCR test. The officer will check your PCR test report and then they will sign and they will give you a small paper that states that this person has already done the PCR test in her home country. And then second station, you have to download an app for self-isolation in Korea. There are many volunteers there. They do speak English, some basic English. They will guide you through the downloading process and filling up the forms and such. After downloading the apps, you will have to go to the third station. The third station is where they check your number. They will call your phone number. In my case, I have a phone number and I've been paying my phone bills even though I'm in Malaysia, so my number can still be used in Korea. If you don't have one, you can fill in phone numbers of your friends or your relatives or somebody who will answer the call for you. And then you go to the fourth station. I'm really not sure what do they check there, but I gave them all my documents, like all my passport, my ARC, all the forms that they gave me, and I just gave them everything and they just check it there. And then after this, you have to go to the passport control. Passport control is just normal. You have to put your fingerprint and you have to remove your mask so that they can see your face, and that's it. After the passport control, you can go ahead and get your baggage. After all these stations, your baggage will already be there waiting for you, so you won't even have to wait. So you get your baggage and then you go through the custom check, and then you give them your the custom form, and then they will scan your baggage and then you can leave. But leaving is not really leaving. When you step out of the door, someone will come and approach you and ask you if you are taking KTX or you are or you want to take taxi. I think for people who lives in Seoul, they will take taxi home. But for me, because I'm going to Daejeon, so I'll have to take KTX. So then they guided me to a place to wait for the bus. I sat there at the waiting place. I went to the toilet too, and then they will lead you to another place to wait for the bus. So in my bus, there were only 8 of us who are like international arrivals. They have a special bus for us. They then took us to Gwangbyeong station. I think it was only about, I don't know, like 30-40 minutes. It's a very short journey. I didn't even get to nap. And then as soon as you arrive, the volunteers will lead you again to a counter to pay for your KTX ticket and to pay for the bus ticket that you took just now. And then you will wait there for your KTX. I waited for about, I think, 15 minutes. Then the volunteers took us to the KTX. So that section of the car is only for international arrivals. We were able to sit anywhere that we want. And then again, there was only like, I think, less than 10 of us. So we all sat separately, quite far from each other. From Gwangbyeong station to Daejeon is only about 40 minutes, I think. So I was the first one stepping out of the train. As soon as I step out, there were already 2 volunteers there. I'm not sure if they are volunteers or workers, but they were already there at the station waiting for me. And then they sanitized my hand and sanitized, like, spray all over my baggage and me. And then they led me to a place to fill up my details. There you will have to write your name, of course, your ARC number, and address. Yep, you have to write down your address as well. And when I was there, it was snowing, so it was really nice, and I get to feel the snow a little bit. I was really happy. And then they led me to the bus. I waited in the bus for about 30 minutes because when I arrived, I was the only one in the bus, but they told me that they will have to wait for another 2 who will come in the next KTX. So I waited in the bus for a while, and then the bus drove me to my Airbnb. So I think buses don't usually drop you at your front door at your Airbnb because the bus can't really come into really small roads. So they dropped me by the roadside. But the bus driver was very nice. Like, he asked me, do you know this place? I was like, no, I don't. And then he showed me how to go to my Airbnb through his map. So I was able to find my Airbnb without any trouble. And then as soon as I arrived in Airbnb, I received a call from the local government healthcare center, and they called me to go for a PCR test later in the afternoon. So later in the afternoon, I took Kakao Taxi. It's really good if you have Kakao Taxi. If not, you have to stand by the roadside and call for the taxi. Then you have to talk to them and stuff. But I used Kakao Taxi to go to the healthcare center, and then I did my PCR test, and then I came back. I think that's the whole process of leaving Malaysia and coming to Korea. And today is the 6th day of my quarantine. I'll have to go for another test on 31st of January. Then I can leave on 1st of February if my result is negative, which I hope so. That's all for this video. If you have any question, I'll be happy to help you if I can. You can leave your questions on the comment down below, or you can also message me on my Instagram, which is this. And thank you for watching. I hope you'll find this video helpful. Thank you.